here with Father Brian McGrath from St. Mary's in Lee, who is going to give us a little recipe from this flyer that came in with the rice bowls, and a calendar actually that has recipes from the different countries that are featured that Catholic Relief Services ministers to around the world. We picked a recipe that actually is this week going to be featured during the calendar portion of this.
Yeah, it's all full of great articles or stories of people, daily reflections, and these recipes. So we're going to try to do shakshuka from the Gaza Strip. And it's a really simple recipe that takes green chilies and red tomatoes, garlic and onion, a little bit of olive oil, maybe some ketchup, salt, and it's a simple recipe. So let's get started.
Okay.
What does it say?
It says to heat the oil in a large pan. So you have 3 tablespoons of fair trade olive oil. One of the things that Catholic Relief Services, Father Brian, is big on is fair trade.
Yeah, and we talk about reaching out to the poor and needy. It's just how we can live that affects others. And so think about buying conscientiously, things that would go back to the people who grow it. We use a fair trade olive oil. We use local ingredients, local onions and things like that. Some of it is going to be pre-bought with the chilies come from far away, but it hopefully reaches out to others.
So you saute the onions and the garlic. You have 1 onion chopped and 2 garlic cloves minced. And we're just going to let that saute with the onions, and this seems like it's going to be spicy.
Yeah, especially when I saw green chilies. But you can buy green chilies in different varieties, and I picked the mild ones.
Good.
So garlic can be a little bit spicy, but I didn't find it at all when I tried it once before we were doing it now.
So the journey to Gaza is one of the stories that is in this flyer, and it talks all about the God of hope and this one woman's story, her journey. Her name is Ona, and she always knew that she wanted to be a shining woman in her community and an example to her 2 daughters, and she studied hard and earned a teaching degree at the university, but in Gaza she was not able to find a job. And there's a lot of oppression, and people suffer.
Yeah, and so Catholic Relief Services is able to reach across, and the money we donate through our rice bowls can really make people's lives so much better in these places.
So I understand that this would be something that they would cook on the Gaza Strip, shakshuka. And now during this week and every week during Lent, you have something that you can do on a daily basis. If you look at this calendar, many people hung it up on their walls in their kitchen or wherever.
I keep it right in my dining room.
Yep. So you start off on Sunday with a story of hope, and this week we pray for Ona and all those in Gaza who cannot find work. And then on Monday, you can learn about Gaza. And Gaza is only 25 miles long and at almost 6 miles wide, but has a population of almost 2 million people. And it says if you give 50 cents for every chore you do or job that you have had, put that in your rice bowl and...
Right, you see it all add up. So our onions and our garlic are sauteed. We're gonna, What's the next step?
The next step would be to add the chilies. So you have 1 7-ounce can of green chilies.
7 ounce.
1 7, so don't add all those chilies in there, Father. You add the chilies, including the juice, and you cook until they're soft. And then you have 1 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes. And you add the tomatoes to that, and you're also going to be adding a tablespoon of ketchup. And you are going to add some salt as well, 2 teaspoons of salt.
And let that simmer down a little bit.
So while you're fasting during Lent, what are we called to do while we're fasting? We shouldn't be cranky about it, right?
Right. Well, it's a season of penance, but it's also a joyful season. And so our sacrifices are not to put us in a bad mood, but our sacrifices are really meant to open ourselves up to others. So sometimes we're so full of the stuff of this world, to simplify our lives, to make a little bit more space for prayer, for works of charity. If you think about so many of our sacrifices, people will give up chocolate, or I'm giving up chips for Lent. And it's not because chips are bad or chocolate's bad, but in those moments when you see it or you're reminded of others, and it's this idea of like a season in which you are trying to be extra mindful of others.
And also, we can be mindful of the people who don't have as much, who don't have freedom, don't have food,
And the rice bowl is a great moment of that because, yes, there's some wonderful recipes and it's a simple meal. Wait till you see, there's no meat in this meal. You can serve a family of 4 with just a few simple ingredients. But the hope is by doing something a little more simple, you can then take that money you save and give it to the people who need it a little bit more than we do. Well, our sauce is starting to reduce, and this is one of my favorite parts. They want us to make a little bit of an indentation.
This would be a perfect meal for a Friday night.
Right?
Yeah, and to get the kids to try something different. It's not fish sticks and stuff. Did you have fish sticks when you were little? I haven't had a fish stick in years.
We do a simple supper on Friday nights at the parish. And last Friday was tuna fish sandwiches.
Oh, I love tuna fish.
So the heat of the red sauce, the tomatoes and the green chilies are going to cook the eggs. We're going to cover this up, right?
I
Cover.
believe so. Cover until the eggs cook. Leave the yolks runny.
Okay.
If you like runny yolks.
Some people want them a little harder,
Yeah.
but we'll let that cook up. We'll clear off our table and get ready to serve.
Okay.
All right, so the shakshuka has been reducing. We can bring it over to our counter here.
This is actually a pretty quick meal, too.
Isn't that amazing?
You could make this on a work night and
all we're going to do is serve you up a little bit of the sauce.
And you have some nice crusty bread here.
I know how much you like a little garnish.
Just put it way over on the edge.
And a little bit of bread.
My brows are already getting some sweat just thinking about it. Looks delicious, though. It smells really good. Okay, well, dig in, right?
All right.
Happy Lent.
Happy Lent.